Hi girls, really sorry that I'm not in the lesson today with you because this is a pretty important stage in our accounting journey. So I thought I would give this recording thing a go. I'm at home with my little one, so who's not well, so I may need to interrupt this recording as we go, but fingers crossed it all works out okay. So what we're looking at today is we're going to be analysing some transactions, and I know we spoke briefly about this at the end of last week. So when we're analysing our transactions, we're looking at trying to separate them into their debit and credit components. And so we need to do a number of steps to do that, and we use what's called a transaction table to help us. So what we are looking at is when we look at each transaction, we are looking at what ledger accounts are involved. Okay, so what accounts have been affected by that transaction, what type of account they are. So are they assets, liabilities, or owner's equity? What is the nature of that account? So assets are going to be debit, liabilities and owner's equity on the other side of the accounting equation are the opposite. So they are credit by nature. Okay, we are looking at whether that account is going to be increasing or decreasing as a result of that transaction, and then what side of the ledger is going to be affected. So is it going to be debit or credit as a result? And then obviously we put the amount in there as well. Okay, there is an example that's already done for you on the OneNote and hopefully should be on the screen in front of you as well. Okay, and so if we have a look at the 1st of January, the owners introduced $20,000 cash into the business. And so we have two different accounts that are impacted. Obviously, our cash at bank is going to be impacted because we're scoring that extra cash in the business account. But then the owner has contributed that capital in the form of owner's equity. And then hopefully they're ultimately wanting that back at the end of the day. Okay, so we have two types of accounts there. Our cash, as we know, is an asset, and assets are debit in nature, so we would include that in our table. We're introducing that cash, so that asset is increasing, and so then we do the same as its nature, and so we're going to debit that account for the $20. The other impact on my accounts is that capital contribution. So that's an owner's equity account. That by its nature is credit. I'm increasing the amount of owner's equity, so I'm going to credit that account for $20,000. Okay, I'll let you have a bit more of a look through that example transaction table, and so maybe pause this for a second. So if you have a bit more of a look through that, okay. The thing just to note down the bottom there, any transactions with accounts receivable or accounts payable, if they don't mention cash being involved, we're going to assume that they have been sold or purchased on a credit basis. Okay, and so then therefore there wouldn't be any impact on our cash at bank account. It would go straight through to either accounts payable if we are buying something as a business, or accounts receivable if we have sold goods. Okay, so once you've had a look through that, if you can then please have a bit of a look at a few different examples of this. So have a go. We'll do the first one together now. If you think you're good with this without listening to me talk through it, then by all means you are under no obligation to continue listening to me talk. But if you would like the support of me talking through the first one with you, then please continue on. Okay, important thing to note though, I have put templates for this on Aiden Central. So it is as a task on there, and that's just showing my Screencast-O-Matic. Where's my Aiden Central? There we go. So under this one here, if you click on that, there should be templates attached for these questions. Okay, so you don't need to then enter in any of those transactions. I have done that for you. Okay, so I'm going to open that up now. Okay, and so you'll see down the bottom the different exercise numbers that I've set for you today, and I've just typed in the transactions for you, so you don't need to worry about doing that. Okay, and so this is a type of sort of mini practical question that you could see on the exam, okay, for this term. All right, so I have a transaction analysis table. This business name, I don't know that I actually have it. So they don't have a name. Okay, normally on the question, normally you would put the business name here. So I'll just write that in there so I don't forget. So business name, Okay, all right, so now I'm going down to have a look at the different transactions and looking at the accounts involved. Okay, so if I obtained a $15,000 loan from the bank, okay, I'm getting some cash as a result of that. So cash at bank is going to be impacted. Okay, and obviously I'm getting that cash through a loan. So I have a loan. And in this case, I don't actually have a name for the bank, but I might include that as a, you know, if it was ABC Bank or whatever it is, I might actually include that there as well. Okay, my cash, we know, is an asset. The nature of assets are debit. Okay, and if I am getting that cash through a loan, then that is going to be increasing. Okay, if it is increasing, I am going to keep my nature the same to increase that account, so it's going to remain as a debit. And then I can pop the $15,000 in as a debit entry. Okay, my loan from my bank is a liability. Okay, they're going to want that money back at some point. Liabilities, as we know, are credit in nature, and that liability, when I borrowed the money, is increasing. Okay, so I am going to then keep that. Actually, I'll change this up here to call that the same. Okay, with my liability, that is increasing as well, so it's going to be the same as my nature. Okay, so I am going to credit the $15,000. Okay, you'll notice that I've just changed the set out of this slightly to what the textbook has in terms of those final two columns. So I've put debit and credit as separate, okay, because I want to make it really clear that that distinction between debits and credits, and I want to, at the end, be able to add up my debit column and add my credit column to make sure that my debits equal my credits at the end and I haven't overlapped with anything. Okay. All right. On the 17th, I bought furniture from ABC Co. for $400. Okay. In terms of the accounts impacted, obviously furniture. So I bought that. Okay. And then I bought that from ABC Co. and it doesn't mention cash at all. So I'm going to assume that I bought that on accounts payable from ABC Co. So I want to know who I owe that money to. My furniture is an asset, which is debit in nature, okay, and I'm buying that asset, so it's going to be increasing. If it's increasing, it's going to be the same as its nature, and I bought that for $400, so I'm going to put that $400 in the debit column. Okay, my accounts payable is a liability. ABC Co. would like some money at some point from that purchase of furniture. Okay, so that's credit in nature. That liability has increased with a result of that purchase, so I am going to keep the nature the same and then credit for $400. Okay, keeping my debits and credits in line. Okay, I just noticed a typo there. Oops, you might need to fix that up on your template as well. I then purchased a vehicle for $10,000 cash. Okay, so I have that vehicle as my asset that I purchased. Okay, and I purchased that for cash. So my cash at bank account is also going to be impacted. Okay, both of those are assets, aren't they? Okay, so my vehicle is an asset, item of value that I own, as is cash. So the nature of both of these accounts are actually debit. Okay, but while my vehicle is increasing, my cash at bank account is decreasing to purchase that vehicle. Okay, so my vehicle account, when it's increasing, is going to remain the same as its nature. Okay, so the vehicle account is going to be debited for that $10,000. And my cash at bank account is, is also going to be a debit in nature. This is Atkin, what are you doing? Okay, so cash at bank is debit in nature, okay, but it is going to be decreasing. And so I am going to record this as the opposite as its nature, okay, to decrease the account is going to be the opposite. So I need to credit that account in terms of recording that, so it's going to decrease the balance, okay. All right, so now I sold some furniture for $200 cash. Okay, so if I'm selling it for cash, my bank account is going to increase with the results of with that cash that I've got, and my furniture account is going to be the other account that's impacted. Okay, like we said above, both of those are asset accounts, and because they're assets, their nature is debit. Okay, this time my cash at bank account is going to be increasing because I've sold that furniture and I'm going to be getting some money. So it's going to be the same as its nature, and so my cash account is going to increase by $200. My furniture account, though, when I've sold that, I've reduced the amount of furniture, so I'm decreasing the balance in that account. So I am going to be recording the opposite to its nature. So that $200 is going to go into my credit column. Okay, and then the last one here, I bought government bonds for $1,000 cash, and they are a form of asset. It's a financial instrument. Okay, so that one is an asset. So let's record my government bonds. Okay, and then I bought those for cash, so my cash at bank account is going to be decreasing. Okay, so both of those are assets, debit in nature. Okay, my government bonds are increasing, but my cash is decreasing to pay for that. So with my bonds are increasing, so that's going to be the same as its nature for $1,000, and then that cash is decreasing, so it will be the opposite to its nature, so that will be credited for $1,000 as well. Okay, now just to double check that my debits and my credits are equal, I'm going to do a sum of that column, so it's equals sum, and then let's just highlight those. Close my brackets, so that's 26,600. If I click and drag that across, okay, and if I click on that column, see how it's dragged across the different the formula. Okay, so it's adding up for that same column. Okay, and so my credit column is also $26,600, and so yay, my debits and my credits are equal. All right, so hopefully that was helpful, and I am hoping that that has actually recorded.